Coming to you from the Strings and Things studio in Ventura, California, this is the Strings Unraveled podcast. Welcome back. Glad you're listening again.
So this is our second episode.
Number 2.
Yeah. Thank you for all the great response we got from the first one. I got people telling us that they listened to the whole thing, which I was surprised because it was so long. So I was glad to hear that.
I had trouble re-listening to the whole thing.
It's hard to listen to yourself talk.
It is very different experience.
Yeah, I just focused on you guys talking. Tuned myself out.
So why don't we start off with what we are working on?
Well, I have quite a list. I talked last time about how I am monogamous to my 3 at a time projects, but those 3 have shifted without me finishing. Oh, I did finish one of the 3. I was working on the rainbow striped kimono sweater for my daughter, and I finished that. It's been far too hot for her to consider even wearing it, just to even take a picture. But I have moved over to 3 different things. I'm doing my first outside test knit for someone. The designer is Nancy Ricci. She goes by Getting Pearly with It on Instagram. And the sweater's called My Boy Lollipop. And I wouldn't normally volunteer to test knit something, but I had been seeing it pop up on Instagram and thinking how much I really wanted that sweater. It's a really cute cropped scoop neck raglan top-down top in worsted weight, so it looks really fast and really cute, and like I could wear it to the office all the time. So I started looking for it on Ravelry, and only to find out it wasn't published yet, and she was looking for test knitters. So I made it in about 3 or 4 days. It was very fast and very fun as promised, and it's really well written. She should have it published by I think her plan is late September. So the sweater's called My Boy Lollipop.
I was looking for it because yours is so cute. I was like, I want to make one of those too. When can I do that? And I saw it was like late September, so I got to remind myself when it comes out.
I don't know if she got all the bust sizes tested, so I should ask.
I have too many things
needs.
going on.
Okay, so
I can wait till late September.
Then I also have another one that stole my heart, which is called Guildenstern by Corey Ellen Boberg, and that is a knit along that UU is hosting. Unfortunately, I'm not using UU yarn, which I would love to make another one out of one of the
third one.
Yes, that's my new thing, making 3 of things. I have a second My Boy Lollipop started, but Guildenstern has really stolen my heart. I'm making 2 at the same time.
I did not know that. One
in I'll show you. One in pretty purpley plums. So to celebrate my birthday last week, I started in celebration of a new year. I started new sweaters. So this one's all purpley and plums.
I saw this one,
and I went from dark to light back to dark. It's a striping pattern where you go through 4 colors in 3 sections.
Ooh,
and then my second one is more neutral colors: black, gray, cocoa color, and then it'll end with like a peridot limey green. And they're working up really fun and fast. And it's a sea of stockinette, but it's delightful. And the yarn I am using is very spongy and cushy superwash merino from a company I don't really know anything about. It's called Carlton Yarns, and I have seen it I saw it at a knit shop in LA this last weekend, but otherwise I've never seen it before.
I've never heard of it.
But I like it. It's real good. But if you can't find Carlton Yarns, you should go check out UU. She put together tons of really cute 4-color palettes that you can buy as a kit. And then the thing I've been waiting for 2 weeks, Pom Pom Magazine tormented us with their very good Instagram feed to make the Ixchel sweater, which is their cover sweater. It's gorgeous. I'm not starting that yet because that is like a carrot on a stick for me to finish some other things. I am instead starting the Ceridwen pullover, which is this gorgeous gray all over cable pullover. Ooh. But I have been wanting an orange sweater for a month or so now, and I'm using my orange Rowan pure wool superwash worsted. I just looked up the actual name of that yarn today.
That's right.
And I have just enough. Karen double checked my stash that's here when I was at home. And I have exactly the right amount of yarn. So the knitting god said, make this sweater out of this yarn. And there's your orange delicious sweater.
And you bought yarn for Ixchel?
I bought yarn for Ixchel.
I really want to make that. That's the cover sweater of the magazine. It's gorgeous.
So pretty. And that I'm going to do in this pretty dark charcoal. I think it was called From Dusk Till, or Lost in the Dusk. I'm sorry. It's Havirland Yarns, who's having for 2 or 3 more days. Probably you won't get to hear this until it's done already.
She sells on Etsy, though.
Yeah.
You can follow her on Instagram.
She had a trunk show at the Altered Stitch in Studio City, Valley Village, California. And I took myself on a little date there. And I bought the perfect colors for that. I'm going to do a reddish orange. So I'm kind of feeling a blood moon for my Ixchel, which we've already had 2 blood moons this year.
Oh.
And I don't think we're set for any more for 5 or 6 years or some long distant time. I'm sure if you're an astronomer, you could correct me on that. Please do. I'd love to know when the next blood moon is. And then I also maybe personal shopped for my 2 friends here, and they got pretty colors.
I got a text message that says, "I'm here, pick something." And I was like, okay, I was in the car. I was like, I will pick something right now.
No,
that one, I picked that one.
I said, surprise me. And she's like, that's too much pressure.
The 2 that you got are so good.
Yes. But don't do that. My son does that in restaurants, and he turns to the waiter.
Pick for me?
10-year-old says, "Surprise me." I wonder if we should cross the table and throttle him. The waiters and waitresses never react to him, though.
They probably don't appreciate that.
I'm sure they do not.
So what are your colors? Is that rainbow sushi?
No, it's Hawaiian punch. As in, how'd you like to have a nice Hawaiian punch? If you're old enough to remember that commercial. And it is this gorgeous cream-based speckle with deep, rich oranges, like a red orange, and yellow pops of yellow, and flecks of, I guess, an orangey pink and green, little bits of black. But it pairs beautifully with Lady Orange, which is I've never been an orange person, but this is the best orange part of any goldfish that, koi pond.
Yes, it's gorgeous.
Those 2 together are super pretty.
Despite my lust for an orange sweater, I'm not usually an orange person either. And this, if it were in worsted and DK, I would abandon my...
See,
there's a lot of orange yarn on the table right now.
But you know what I like, and you, whether I even know I like it or not, you know what would look good for me. Yeah. So I totally trust you to pick something out.
Hawaiian punch was no problem. When you said pick me a speckle, I was like, that was easy.
And when I looked on at the picture that you had, I had on my phone, and I had to blow it way, way, way up, and hope it didn't pixelate too much. But that orangey speckle is
what jumped out at you.
I want that. So when you pick that, when you put that in your hand, I'm like, oh, see, you could pick anything for me, and I would totally love it. And then you had the orange, which was the other thing that caught my eye, or you had the teal, but the teal was overpowering.
It was boring.
Orange is
I'm
super
sorry,
fun.
Haverland, none of your yarn is boring, but on the spectrum of awesome yarns, the teal was not the most exciting thing on the wall.
It was a typical robin's egg looking.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's a great solid to pair with something. I got, what was mine? Burnt Offering?
Burnt Offering.
Yeah. And it's this great yellow with it could read as a solid, and I might use it as a solid, pair it with a speckly thing. But it has speckles of its own. But it's mostly just yellow with some shades and all kinds of good stuff.
And unfortunately, even though I acquired these yarns, I don't remember the names of mine for real. I just got a cool reddish orange and a really cool charcoal. I'll report back on what the colors are.
All of her colors are great. Yeah. I used the pink body of my Sunset Highway is her yarn. That's her Conversation Hearts colorway. And I've used another one of hers before. I've used a couple of hers before. I have some great socks in her self-striping yarn.
Did she do the droid colors?
Yeah.
Yes.
I have my BB-8 socks are hers, and I also have Sanderson Sisters socks. They're my Halloween socks.
Say that.
I remember you getting that.
Yep.
I really like those. I was surprised that none of the 3 of us bought the Frankenstein kit.
I know.
Even though I have lustily thought about buying that so many times when it was right there for me to buy.
Maybe I was being cheap, but When I looked it up on the website, I guess in the Etsy shop, it was $5 cheaper. I'm like, it was $30 instead. I thought, well, it's the equivalent of a skein of yarn
what her shipping
or all
cost
that.
is. So maybe
maybe
it would have
make up for it.
Yeah.
But I was buying a sweater's worth of yarn, so I was not being cheap. But I was being conservative, let's say. But I can't wait to do Ixchel.
Yeah.
But I have enough on my plate right here in front of me. I have a secret project that I'll be able to talk about after next time we record, but I can't talk about it right now. So I have to finish my Guildensterns, and I'll probably finish my Boy Lollipop. Ceridwen will be shelved soon so that I can work on my secret project.
Cool.
So that's what I'm working on.
That's your needles.
So I am currently working on a pattern called the Breeze Racerback by Jessie Mae Martinson. I follow her on Instagram, and she's got this great series of patterns that are coming out. This is a tank top, like a Racerback tank top knit in fingering weight. I'm using Madeline Tosh sock in the Holy Festival colorway, so it's very loud and obnoxious and bright and colorful, and I love it.
Perfect.
Everybody needs like a hot pink, rainbow colored, clown barf sweater, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Clown barf sweater. Clown barf sweater.
So that's what is in my hands right now. I'm also working on my Tecumseh sweater, which I'm at the ribbing on the body, and then I have the sleeves to go. The sleeves aren't super long, so it won't take me long to finish it. I just have to finish it. But it's huge, and it's hard to work on when it's hot outside because it's a lot of wool. And I finished another range backpack. This one is all in
another one
wax canvas. That's my
it's
fourth one.
Yeah,
I think it's my fourth one.
Maybe fifth.
No, it's my fourth one. I know it's
okay.
my fourth one. That one's all in wax canvas. It's like a mustardy yellow and a gray at the bottom. I made that. I finished my V-back tee, my test knit that I was working on. The pattern's out now, so you could cast on if you want to.
It is really, really cute on
It
Katie.
is.
What is the name
it
of
is
it?
cute. It's called the V-back tee by Jamie Hoffman.
So cute.
I was a little wary of it when it came off the needles. It looked really weird, but I tell people not to knock it till you block it, which was like so true of this sweater. I was like, there's no way this is gonna look like anything, and then I blocked it and I put it on and I was like, this looks really cute. And I actually wore it to work one day. I was like, it made me happy.
So cute.
That's wisdom of the ages.
Yeah.
What you just said.
Don't knock it till you block it.
Oh.
I read that online somewhere. I can't take credit for it.
But
it's
I like
very
it.
true.
Lots of things look better, have a bit more finished look once you block it.
Yep. And most of the time I tell people that, and then they come back and they're like, it looks so much better after you blocked it. It's like, yeah, well, there you go.
Truth.
Like ironing sometimes makes things look better, but usually I'm satisfied not to iron.
I hate ironing.
I'm okay not to iron.
I only iron things when I'm making them.
Yeah.
And that's the only time in their whole lives that they're going to get ironed, unless we're wearing them to a wedding, because I really love the way that, my family looks dressed up and tight.
Yeah. I have 2 irons in my studio and 0 irons at home, so that can tell you how much I iron.
I almost have 0 irons at home. My husband put my 3rd iron in my car to bring here.
Yeah.
And then I was like, something in my conscience feels like we should
keep an iron at home.
The iron at home is for other people's use, not for mine.
Although one time Karen emailed me and was like, almost the middle of the night, was like, do you have an iron at your house? I'm coming over right now.
Well, that's why I knew I needed to buy one, because my husband's about to go on a business trip and he had no iron shirts.
Well, you can't do that anymore because both of my irons are here at the studio.
Well, that's when I went out and I bought an iron to dedicate.
So if I have a middle of the night ironing emergency,
you can go to Karen's
house. I can go to Karen's house.
That's true.
I have one iron at home, but I'm not sure where the ironing board is.
You set like a towel out on the counter.
Yeah, that's my figure.
That's not important, is it? You can iron on just about any surface, especially if you're teaching someone else to do it.
Yeah. Okay. So I finished that shirt. Technically, it's a shirt. It's a 5-color fade. I'm very happy with my fade. It's like the most fadey fade I've ever done. It like blends super well.
Fade.
Yep. I'm very happy with it. And I made a fanny pack.
That was very cute.
It was cute. It's a little small because I made it to take with me when we went out of town last weekend. And I used it. I can fit like my phone and my keys in it. Not a whole lot else. It's got a little front pocket, so I stuck like my ID and debit card in there. But as like a vacation fanny pack, sometimes you want to carry a little bit more things. It didn't fit everything, but it is very cute and it was easy to make. That's the Fennel Fannypack pattern by Sarah Kirsten. It was easy. It was fun. And that is about all I am working on right now. I need to finish Tecumseh. I was hoping I could tell you guys in this episode that I had finished Tecumseh and I didn't do it, so it's still a work in progress. And I'll finish it.
Life in summer.
Hopefully I'll finish it by next episode.
It's a very distracting thing to see someone working on because it's very cute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I have my list of things that is on the horizon. And I will just enjoy you wearing your finished one.
In February, maybe, when it gets cold outside.
That's true. You'll model it once.
That's true. Right? I'll wear it once for like 5 minutes and then I'll take it off because it's too hot.
Yeah.
I look forward to seeing your Instagram picture.
What are you working on, Karen?
So I'm working on no knitting.
No knitting at all.
No knitting at all.
Well, that's good. You can balance.
Yeah.
I only knitted.
Because I'm like sewing like crazy.
Awesome.
Lots of different things. I am working on a crochet thing because when I sat down to look at my upcoming class schedules because we're getting ready to put the next set of classes out, I realized I didn't have anything crochet. So I've got this, working on Melt by Elena Fedotova. I like a lot of her stuff. And I'm using, it's kind of a Swancho style sweater where it's a really deep yoke. It's a kind of the yoke that kind of goes way down your arm.
Tecumseh. It's like, it's got short little sleeves and a long yoke.
Yeah, and the sleeves are really just ribbing around the opening of this giant Swancho. It's meant to have like over 15 inches of ease. Lots and lots of ease. But it's really fun. I'm alternating. It's round in the. It looks like it's in the round, but I'm actually going to the beginning of my round, slipping a stitch, turning, and going to join it. So it's kind of
like rows, but it's joined.
It's joined rows.
That's a great stitch pattern.
Yeah, it has this really neat rib texture, like a horizontal rib texture, just by working every row in single crochet through the back loop, and then it breaks up where you're working. I've never done this before, so this was kind of fun. A front post double crochet two together.
Oh my goodness. Is that what's making that kind of cable look?
Yeah, that's what's making that cable diamond shape. That's really fun.
So like this and this come together to make two together?
Yeah, so you'll do, on the wrong sthen you'll do a bunch of double crochets to help set up your space. And then you'll do single crochets, and then you'll do this texture that zigzags. And then you do another round. You turn it and go back and do a bunch of more double crochets, and then you'll close the zigzags and it makes this really cool diamond shape.
That's cool.
It has a really nice, it's kind of like, it fits on your shoulder like a boat neck, but it has a nice collar like a cowl type thing. So I'm enjoying this, and I've repurposed some Blue Sky Woolstok worsted. It's in the really, really pretty, I like blues of all shades, and so this one is actually more of an ice blue, but it's very tonal.
I have some of that in my stash, and maybe even that same color.
I've done the fingering weight, but this...
it's like a DK weight, right?
It's a DK. They're calling it worsted, but it really is more of a heavy DK light worsted.
Yeah, it looks
depends
pretty,
on if I'm looking at it. It says it's 5 to 6 inches stitches to the inch if you're knitting on a 6 to an 11, which gives you a pretty broad range. But anyway, I like it because the colors, even though it's a pale, it's only semi-solid. I get really bored easily having to have a solid color. So at least if it's tonal, it keeps my squirrel brain engaged.
Yep. It's nice though because it reads as a solid.
It reads as a solid, but when you're working through it, it's a very subtle shading.
It's pretty.
It seems to have good body too. Do you think that's an important choice for that pattern?
It is. Gauge. I had a customer ask me, I'm starting a sweater. Do I have to do a gauge swatch? And I told her,
you don't have to.
Well, I said, you should always, because if you want success, you should do that. And then when I chained on, I did not do a gauge swatch.
Hey, there you go.
And I thought that neck is humongous. And so I listened to my own advice after ripping it back.
You don't have to do a gauge swatch. If you want your sweater success, to fit, you should knit a gauge swatch.
That's how I wanted to finish that.
That makes me crazy when people are like, I always knit to gauge that the pattern says. I'm like,
how do you know?
How the first try, or do you test it and
every designer is different too, so how can you know that?
Well, that's true, because
I'm just lucky.
You can't, it doesn't matter if you are going to the gauge of the yarn. You have to match the gauge of the designer. And for this particular designer, I needed to go down from an H to a G to get gauged so that this wouldn't be humongous. Now, I could have got my rows a whole lot faster, but it would have been a
gift for someone else. Or like there's somebody, one of our knitters calls when she doesn't want to do gauge swatches, and she knows what the consequences are, and she calls it a Cinderella sweater. She will find someone it fits.
Oh, okay. Then that's one way to live your life.
I'm not that kind of generous human being, so I will not Cinderella sweater. But you could have had a Cinderella sweater.
But it wasn't like
it's the right blue to be a Cinderella sweater.
It is.
But it wasn't like I automatically made the right choice of swatching. Instead, I said, oh, I can just adjust the numbers and I can fudge it. But I realized this is a class sample, and
you should probably make it to pattern.
And I kind of need to make it to pattern because someone else is going to say, well, what size is that? And that fits, and their version of that size will not fit the weight. So I thought, rip it back, do the right thing. I did. But mostly what I'm doing is, that's the only fibery kind of thing. I'm mostly doing a lot of sewing. I'm sewing a quilt by Angela Walters for my son's girlfriend's birthday. I got the top all done, and that was really fun because I learned how to do a Y seam, and also how to press the Y seam so that it doesn't look really, really horrible. Instead, if you just press it the right way, it looks beautiful.
What's the name of the pattern?
It's called Braided Star.
It's really pretty.
And we she doesn't really know what it's going to look like. I've only shown her like little teaser tidbit pics.
What's the occasion? It's her birthday.
It's her birthday, and I love my son because he budgeted and he paid for the stuff, and he even paid me a little bit something for my labor.
Wow.
Because she's very important to him. I'm also participating in a quilt along called Leaf Peepers Quilt. That is a collaboration between Whole Circle Studios, which is Sherry Cefaldi Morrill. I don't know her whole name, how to pronounce that properly, so I'm sorry if I did that wrong. And Leah Day. And it's nice. Each week they have videos at their website that give you tips and tricks. And this is a whole lot of piecing, lots of half square triangles. But when you put them together, they make this really neat fall quilt, and it can be a table runner, or it can be like a little lap quilt. I've got a lot of fabric, so I may make it just a bigger quilt, but it's just fun to make these squares, and it's using not cork fabric, but a fabric that looks like cork in really pretty colors and a little bit of metallic.
It looks really pretty.
It's gorgeous.
So I might make let it just go ahead and be a table runner if I can finish it up before and get it quilted before Thanksgiving, and it'll be on our table.
Oh, that'll be so
Or maybe we'll decorate it here for the.
Oh, that'd be so pretty. I would like that because I'm selfish and I want it to see.
And
it
I want to
here.
see it.
Yeah.
Have either of you sewn with like actual cork before?
No, I haven't, but I want it because the Super Buzzy has it.
That's what I've heard. I need to get over there and buy it.
Bag maker that I follow that does that, and it looks real cool.
Yeah,
you would use that in place of a canvas. And
there's
pretty sturdy looking.
I've seen it's a recommended fabric for a lot of the noodle head patterns, which are the ones I've been working on. And I need to get over to Super Buzzy and buy it because somebody told me it was there, and I was like, well, I didn't know I could find that.
So
I thought I'd have to order it online.
No, when I was getting stuff for my range backpack, she had just got it in the shop, and I'm like, I want to buy it for range, but
I need to go try it.
She hadn't had it priced up yet, and I needed it. But I get compliments on my backpack. I love that backpack.
Yeah, me too.
So other than that, I'm sewing a lot of stuff and working on the, where strings and things, and I'm more about the things right now. So upcoming classes is like a I can speak, woven beaded bracelet class. So I'm working on that on a really cute little tiny.
I almost bought that loom. Is that the Pearl Soho one?
It is, but you know what? I found a place that has it cheaper.
Yeah,
like $8 and $8.30 instead of $12.50.
Right. I had one when I was a kid, like the same little setup. And I used to make bracelets all the time.
It's got these little springs that really keep your little tiny warp threads in line. I love it.
It's fun.
Because Anne suggested go looking at Fire Mountain. Look someplace else because you can save some money. And that's true. I can. And then I'm doing one other class that's kind of near and dear to my heart. It's one of those things I always wanted to do because my grandmother did it. And my grandmother, I was really, really close with her, and she tatted. And I wish as a child I would have or young person I would have appreciated all the little tatted cross bookmarks that she made. But I'm working on different class samples. But in class though, I'm thinking that instead of going with normal tatting thread, which is kind of small, I'm going to size it up and use fingering. I've got a couple samples that are using fingering weight yarn because then you can get the process of it.
Fun.
And everyone's got fingering weight stash for all these gazillion shawls we're doing.
Tatting is like so mysterious to me. I have no concept of how it works at all.
Okay.
I've seen people do it with like all these little bobbins and stuff, and my grandma does it.
No, that's not tatting.
Oh, that's bobbin lace.
Yeah,
See, I don't know anything.
That's also mysterious and cool.
Yeah.
But my grandma also taught me how to tat, and I'm apparently the only one out of her 3 daughters and her 2 granddaughters who she took the time to teach. And it's something that I've had to relearn 4 times because if you don't use your knowledge, you lose your knowledge.
Well, that's why when I was practicing at first with the tiny yarn, the tiny thread, I couldn't wrap my head around it. But when I got to, look, when we teach socks, we teach it on bigger yarn so people can see their stitches and they can get a little farther. And I felt like when I practiced on fingering weight yarn, I'm like, oh yeah.
You can see your stitches
I can see my
easier.
stitches easier. And the trick is waiting for the snap. When I pull a thread, when I pull a thread, it flips the knot, and you can feel it pop.
Totally
and I'm like, and you can feel it better on bigger yarn.
Yeah.
You know, and see it better.
That's going to be fantastic.
I might have to take that class because I really have no concept of what it is.
Because that's what my husband said while he was watching me do it. He's like, because I'm all about things that are fast and dirty, right? And he's like watching me as I do this tiny little thing where you get like very little progress in an hour. Yeah. It's like, that doesn't look like something you're going to keep doing.
Hey, but actually, if you size it up, and I thought about how cool you could act, even if you went to worsted weight yarn, you could make like trivets.
Yeah.
Or other things that are bigger for your table, and you get that satisfaction. I mean, the same reason why do we make super chunky, bulky hats? So we can get it done fast.
Yes. I think that's going to be really cool.
So that's what I'm doing.
And I think people are going to be really attracted to it.
I just remembered another thing. I'm messing around with rope baskets.
Oh, that's cool.
That's cool. You made that?
I made this today. It was so fast. I thought it was going to take forever. This was like
professional. It's
45
like
minutes. It was fun. I've never done anything like it before. So I think I'm going to do this as a class.
How did you do that? I have no concept.
You like start in the center. You like coil the rope around it in yours. You can look at it. It's like a zigzag stitch that's securing it together.
Oh, wait. You did this on your machine?
Yeah, on the sewing machine.
But how did you get it to come up the sides?
You'll have to take the class and find out, Karen.
An exchange of knowledge will happen.
Hey,
I'll learn how to tat, and you can learn how to...
And look how clever you changed the color.
I might have ran out of yellow, or of white thread and switched to yellow.
We call that a design element.
Yes.
No, I think that's a beautiful design element, but look how perfect it is.
I know, it was really fun. I want to make them in all sizes and different colors and stuff. I also saw somebody like paint the rope with like acrylic paint, like kind of splatter paint it first, and then make the basket out of it. So I think it's like a world of possibilities.
Oh, yeah. I want to say one more thing about tatting.
Yeah.
The thing I discovered is there are indie yarn dyers for tatting.
Yes.
Oh,
that
yeah.
is so cool.
Yeah.
Just like you can buy your fingering weight yarn or your special indie dyer. There's the gal who teaches one of the tatting classes on Craftsy. I didn't even realize it was the same gal. She has an Etsy shop where she has these beautiful hand painted threads for tatting. I'm like, oh man, they're beautiful. Cool. So anyway, that's it for what I'm doing.
That's all.
That's it. I know. The family eats the
other obligations. Ugh.
Life, real life.
So the topic of our episode this week is, what is one of your greatest or some of your greatest fails?
Epic.
Or, yeah, when it comes to, we're going to talk about sewing because we had some good stories to share. So, who wants to start with their sewing fails?
I heard Anne has a lot. She failed a lot.
And
Don't
Karen
we all?
Yes.
Yeah.
Karen and I were talking about this earlier, that and we tell you this. You've probably heard us say this to you. We know how to fix a lot of things because we screw up a lot too. So please take it to heart. We make mistakes. But particularly in sewing, when we started thinking about this as a topic, there were two fails that were pretty good. One is, so, when Project Runway came out, people were like, you should totally do Project Runway. No. Never been appealing. I can be inventive, but I really do love following a beautiful sewing pattern that's been tested, and you can, follow that. You can rely on it. The sizing is evident and easy to check as you go along. But I was feeling adventurous as a teenage sewer, and my brother was getting rid of a ton of jeans, and that's all such good fabric. And so I was like, I'm going to cut these into different shapes, and I'm going to come up with some inventive slim fit jean dress.
Okay.
And I don't exactly remember what my strategy was, but it was like 0 ease in denim. Ooh. And I think I turned it the jean upside down, maybe, so I really can't remember what I did, but I was using the legs as gores of some sort, and you could just barely zip it up around me, and I was like, this is very avant-garde. I can't wait to show people this crazy thing I've made. So I waddled downstairs because I could have barely moved my legs to walk, and
they weren't stretch jeans.
No, not stretch jeans. They were classic fit 501s from the late 90s. And I go downstairs to show my mom, and she is being probably the kindest that she ever has been in reacting to something. How do I look, Mom? And she's like, well, that's really interesting.
Aren't you creative?
Yeah. Well, look at what you came up with. And then my brother, whose jeans these were, he happened to walk in, he'd been out and about, and he walked in and he sees me wearing this concoction, and he's like, are you ever going to wear that in public? Well, maybe. I might. I mean, I was planning on it. I thought I looked pretty good. And there's
Did
nothing.
you sit down?
I never got that far. I did, I think, so then there's nothing like an older brother. He's 10 years older than me, so he's probably 25. I'm imagining I was 14 or 15. And he comes in and has this horrified reaction. And we judge, how your brothers and your dad judge you is, a pretty good gauge for how you want to be perceived out in the world. Anyway, so his reaction was it sealed it for me. I understood what I had done. Yeah. So I waddled back up the stairs, and I remember having a little trouble getting out of it. But I'm sure if you
panic for a second, getting stuck in your dress.
If you lay flat, you might be able to.
I think I might have taken a stitch rip or two to get out of it.
Get me out of this.
Because I'm back there right now.
Oh my gosh.
And then the other one is, gosh, I meant to look this up, but the Butterick pattern. It's a classic Butterick pattern. That's it's the dress, you put it over your head, and then the front lays flat, and then the back comes around and buttons.
Oh, I've seen that. Yeah.
It's a high waist.
It's a little wrap thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you button it in the back. The front button's in the back, and then the full skirt comes around and buttons in the front. It's still around, like it's still in the Butterick catalog. It's very cute. It's so easy to make because it's like bust darts and shoulder seam, but then you do binding all the way around it. I think in the course of life I made 4 or 5 of them, but I was making one to wear on Christmas, and with all dress up dresses, Easter, Christmas, it sounds good to me to start it on December 24th.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh yeah.
I'm not talking about my Easter dress.
Reasonable.
I am talking about my Christmas dress on December 24th. So as a new mom, Alexander was a little baby, so it's probably his first Christmas, so just a few months old. So I was up anyway.
Yeah.
And,
might as well be sewing.
Yeah, and so I had this really cool black and white gingham check, like in a big 1-inch check, taffeta. So pretty. And I was like, I will just whip this up. And I was using my serger, and I was rolling the hem instead of using bias binding on it. So the whole perimeter of this dress is bias binding if you follow the pattern, which is more expensive than the fabric. So I was making mad time, and I almost had it all finished. Dawn is rising. I'm almost done.
It's Christmas morning.
Yes, it's Christmas morning. We, in my house growing up, which I was still living with my mom, you don't open Christmas presents until after church. So there's not like anybody was pitter-pattering down the stairs to, there's no one of pitter-patter age because Alexander wasn't walking, and my little brother was, 16 or something. So anyway, no one pitter-pattering down for their Christmas presents. I had until we had to leave for church. So I'm like doing the last bit of hemming around the perimeter, and my serger was involved in this. And I'm zooming across. And I got a big chunk of the skirt caught in the serge seam.
No.
And I sliced open the skirt. So I wore this dress to Christmas Mass. I took some of the excess fabric and I made a patch. And I matched it perfectly with the gingham and sewed it over the slice. Like I zigzagged the slice closed, and I sewed it over, and no one was wiser.
Wow.
And I wore that dress to Christmas.
And the lesson learned?
Sergers are dangerous.
Sergers are dangerous.
dangerous.
Yeah. Not start your project earlier. That's not.
No.
Nothing stops a determined woman.
Oh, that's a good lesson. Yeah.
Multiple lessons to be learned from that story.
I'm sure there have been other things, but those were the two that leaped out at me as I remembered the worst sewing moments.
Yeah.
I've been sewing since I was 8, so in the last 28 years of sewing, those were my 2 gold star moments.
Those are good ones.
Thank you. Who wants to go next?
Yeah.
I'm the warm-up back.
I'll go.
All right, Karen.
So, we all know that Vogue, whether it's knitting or sewing patterns.
Which is interesting because it's 2 different companies.
Is it?
I'm pretty sure.
But I think their philosophies is the same. Give as little information on how to do anything as possible because anyone...
Figure it out, dummy.
Because if
you're using a Vogue pattern, you must be good enough for it. If you have to ask,
you're not good enough.
Yeah, then you don't deserve to have this Vogue pattern in your hand, so
but,
go find a simplicity pattern
so
instead.
I had the trifecta of bad choices. Don't cut out your fabric when you're on strong cold medicine.
Okay, that's good advice.
Don't put it together really, really late night, and certainly don't and do more than looking at the pictures. Read the instructions, even if they're not going to give you very much.
You don't always know better than the pattern. I often feel like I know better than the
Sometimes
pattern.
Sometimes I just look at the
I often don't know better. I glance
at the pictures, and had I listened to any of that advice, I would not have made a summery dress and lined it without actually having cut out both the fronts and the back.
Made the summery dress.
Which has not been finished because it really has no back. It just has a very, very small front that got folded over. And
I'm very confused about it.
Okay.
Is this recent?
No,
okay.
I still haven't touched that dress yet. I still have to finish it. It's a beautiful rayon. It'll be pretty someday. I think I've changed body types since I started that dress. It was
especially since it has no back.
No, back of a dress. The front just sort of folds around and is about as big as my leg.
Yeah.
I couldn't understand why, but I lined. I closed it up and I closed up the lining, and then I couldn't understand why it didn't fit to the bodice. It is smaller than the bodice.
I'm sure that it's really beautifully finished, though.
Well, I realized that something was dreadfully wrong when I realized, and then I did go back. I realized I underestimated how much fabric I needed, but I went back and I got more fabric. So someday I will finish. It'll be a beautiful Hawaiian. It's all like Hawaiian blue floral prints, sleeveless. It's very nice deep V-neck. It'll be gorgeous someday.
What if you never finished it and threw the fabric away?
That's exactly what I would do.
I might.
Or throw it in a box and think someday.
Well, that's how it is now, I think. Yeah.
Well,
but someday is not, like, in my mind, I know I'm not going to go back.
I think I actually brought it here to the office.
Oh, okay.
You moved it. That's serious.
So
well, mostly because I needed the space in the closet.
Yeah.
I was like, someday I'll if it was like a cotton I could use with quilts, but it's a rayon that I can't do much else with, and it is gorgeous. It's beautiful.
Would it fit your son's girlfriend?
No, she's got a womanly figure like myself. I don't know. Someday maybe it'll fit.
Or, no, I mean someday you will never sew it.
Yeah.
Someday. Do I think I'm ever really going to go back and fix it? Oh, no, probably not.
No.
But I might maybe I'll find some other purpose.
Maybe you can make it a skirt.
I could, because I do have enough for a front and a back.
Don't you own a seam ripper?
That's how you get out of your clothes,
Yeah, but I'd have to care enough about that project more than the current gazillion projects already in front of me.
True.
I mean, don't you guys have those projects that you realize, maybe I'm never going to get to it?
Oh, yeah.
And I might want to repurpose that yarn someday, but then again, maybe I'm just going to regift it to somebody else.
Yep. I made this.
That was my epic fail.
That's awesome. That is very good. But I love how you were finishing it beautifully, because that is something that I admire.
You probably did a really great job.
Yeah, that you're like a really good finisher.
Well,
like finishing techniques.
I hemmed the pieces before I put it. And I just lined and hemmed. I was trying to cut corners because I was running short on time. It was one of those last minute, I want to wear it for Easter. It was going to be an Easter dress. And then I thought, maybe I'll fix it for Mother's Day. And that was a decade ago.
Nice.
Yeah. So, maybe.
Katie, what have you epically failed at?
I kind of had a hard time coming up with examples. And
that's so humble.
No. I know. I feel like people are like, it's because you don't screw up. I think it's because I screw up all the dang time that I couldn't think of any examples that like really struck me because it happens so often.
Yeah.
But I do have a couple. So the fanny pack that I mentioned that I made, I wore it out of the house. I was walking around and it literally fell off of my body. The strap had become unsewn because it's like a cotton webbing that goes around your waist and you sew it into this other piece. I had sewn it too close to the cut edge of the webbing and the webbing just worked its way out of the seam. But it literally fell, like I heard it hit the floor in the store. I was like, well, wow, that was really great craftsmanship. Who made this fanny pack?
I'm taking this out to return it now.
So that was a recent example. That literally happened like a week ago. It fell off of my body. I have added a zippered back pocket to one of my range backpacks. And when I did it, I remember I asked Anne, I was like, how did I do this one time? Like, I showed her the pocket, and then I, like, figured out how I did it. I assembled it. I installed the fabric for the pocket backwards, so the interfacing is showing on the inside of the pocket, and I was like, no one's ever going to see the inside of my pocket.
It's just for you.
But it's, like, torn to shreds now from, like, me getting my wallet in and out of that pocket. The interfacing has totally come apart.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I guess interfacing is not for public use.
It's not meant to be used like that, so don't look inside the pocket of my backpack because it's not pretty.
I'm going to sneak a look.
That's fine.
Yeah. My dad was kind of a perfectionist, and he didn't get the idea of, like, no one will catch this, not on a galloping horse. He made this beautiful grandmother clock that's in my mom's home still, and he would take it away. Oh, that's so beautiful. And then he'd take it away from the wall to show you the mistake on the inside of it.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Because that's important.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I keep a secret till I die.
Yeah, right.
Unless I'm telling you that story here.
Unless it's good content for the podcast, and then I'll tell you. Mm-hmm. I don't do a lot of garment sewing, so I don't have any, like, epic garment fails. I do have a story that's not mine, it's my mom's, but I don't think she'll mind me sharing it because it's really funny. It happened many, many years ago. When I was a kid, my mom made a lot of dresses for my sister and I, and she was, like, a pro seamstress. Like, everything had finished French seams. She did all this beautiful smocking. Like, everything is perfect. Like, she worked really hard.
How cute were you guys in
so
these
cute
dresses?
We were so cute. So she knows what she's doing. She's like she's a really good sewer. I don't like the word sewer. Sewist.
It's not seamstress.
It could be.
Seamstress
seems so uppity though.
Yeah, or like that's what women in Seattle used to call themselves for their tax returns, and they weren't seamstresses.
Okay.
I'll let the mind wander. It's the oldest profession. It's older than being a seamstress. So I like sewist.
Yeah, I don't like sewer because it looks like sewer when you write
it. I do.
Seamist. Okay.
Seamist.
Sewist. I don't know. Whatever you call it. My mom's good at it.
Well, and a seamist is not gender.
True. I was wondering earlier today what the male version of a seamstress is.
Tailor.
A seamer. A tailor.
Seamer.
A seamer.
Tailor, yeah.
So she's good. She made all of our Halloween costumes usually. If it involved sewing, she would make it for us. And a couple of years ago, I was looking in one of my family photo albums when I was a kid. And there's this picture of my brother wearing this Batman costume that my mom made him. And it's, a super cute costume. And he's standing in the backyard with his little Batman wings, like, out to the side. And the way the sun is hitting him, you can see that he's only wearing, like, his little, like, underoos, like, chonies underneath, and he's not wearing anything else. And I looked at it, and I was like, Mom, did you know that this is see-through? And she was like, I sent him to school like that. So he was wearing a see-through Batman costume with only his little chonies underneath.
Oh my god.
And that's not a sewing fail, but that's just a...
When you're little, you can get away with that.
He was probably, like, 10.
Oh.
Maybe like 8, but still, yeah, it was so funny. Because she saw it, like, this was like 20 years later or whatever, and I showed her the picture in the album. I was like, did you notice that this was see-through?
I want an Instagram picture of that.
And I'll see if I can track it down in my mom's house. I'll see if I can find that picture, because this is pretty funny.
I like it.
Your poor brother.
The other one is a story of one of James's, my husband's, fails. Before I had my own studio, my quote-unquote studio was in my garage, where I also have the couch that's in my studio, used to be in my garage. And I used to sit at the couch and do a lot of sewing and stuff. And James moved things from my little sewing table that I was using one day onto the couch to, like, use the table for something. Yeah. And didn't realize that my iron was on.
Oh.
And left it leaning up the side of my couch. So if you go up my office...
Is that what the scorch mark is?
If you lift up the blanket that's covering it strategically, there's a really nice scorch mark on my couch. That was James's fault, because he moved my iron.
Should make that a part of a scavenger hunt.
My question, I'm not sure why my iron was on. It might have just been hot and I had unplugged it, but yeah, burned a hole in my couch.
Did you give him a fire safety course?
Probably.
You should make your dad give him a fire safety course.
He also got the talking to about my sewing scissors are only to be touched by me. Because he was trying to, like, open a box or something with my gingers, and I was like, what are you doing? No!
He still walks there.
No, I know. He's very nice, and he's a good husband, but that was one day I was like, ooh, that's not good.
Honey.
I don't think I've ever scared my eldest child, or any of my children, as much as Saturday morning. My son is, like, 7, and he's quietly working away in his room. He was an only child at that point, and my husband and I are lazing about, and I go to check on him in his room, and he's poised and ready to make the first cut into a piece of paper with my gingers, and I had this look of like, what are you doing? And then I expressed that in a very loud volume, and his eyes were like big
I just
old
needed
saucers.
some scissors.
Yeah, and I'm like, then I explained to him about.
I apologized to my mom recently because I was the snot-nosed kid that had done that with her scissors. She had these 2 pair of these, like, gold sewing scissors that she got from Germany, and they were beautiful, but they were always around, and sometimes you just need to cut something, and she would get so mad, and I never really understood until I was older and bought nice scissors why that was not okay to do.
Yeah.
So I did apologize to her at one point.
Do all kids go through a paper cutting phase?
Yeah,
because we had one son we had one son who loved cutting things with paper. And it didn't have to be his paper. It could be our important papers. It could be our
text documents.
Yeah. Confetti! Because they were just sitting there on the computer table. You know, it can't be that important,
weren't
right?
filed away anywhere important.
Yeah.
No.
There was that, and then my very creative son liked to crayon on everything. But he would find creative places. Like he would crawl under his bed and find a little space of the wall to draw on the wall. And he didn't like the washable kind. He liked the glittery,
The fun ones.
neon ones. Because
glitter is eternal.
What a segue.
My niece, there's a cubby under the stairs of my house that's supposed to be used for storage and stuff, but my brother turned it into like a TV watching area for my niece. So it's got a little TV on the wall and like cushions and stuff like that. And they have let her just draw on the walls in there with crayons because I don't know, but it's very colorful in there and very cute.
It's her personal space.
Yeah, she's very artistic. And I'm like, does she know she's not allowed to leave the boundaries of this little cubby with those crayons? She did, like, one day I was watching her, and she walked out and had, like, a blue crayon in her hand, and just went, like, swipe on the wall, and I was like, what are you doing? It came off easily, but, yeah. Apparently she didn't know that she was supposed to stay inside of her cubby.
Well, this is how we learn that there are places to be free and be yourself, and there are places to act
not color on the walls. Yeah.
Harold's Crayon.
Yeah.
I kind of kept that book away from my children.
I think to inspire them to draw with purple crayons on the wall.
I think Alexander had it, but the other two have not seen that book, to my knowledge, and I don't think it would have gone well if they saw a little boy making his world with purple crayon.
Mm-hmm.
So for our third segment, we have a listener question.
I put it out on our Instagram and our Facebook page, and the lovely Cheryl gave us a great question, and I just said any sort of question, it could be anything. She said, do you ever favorite a pattern on Ravelry because of the name? Kind of like the knitting version of choosing a nail polish color. And I thought this was such a funny question because I totally do that with nail polish and just like everything in general. Yeah. It's got a funny name. I don't care what it looks like, but I could tell people this is called so-and-so.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
Have you ever done that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I have. I don't think I've done like the fun way that nail polish gets named for my patterns, but I have gotten obsessed with patterns because of their names.
Yeah.
So there is Viajante, which I don't think is Viajante. I think it's supposed to be like Viajante or Viajante by Martina Bem. It's Viajante. And if you give a girl from Southern California a J in the middle of a strange looking word, I'm going to make it an H. So Viajante. And it's out of lace weight.
Fun to say.
Yeah. It's out of lace weight, and it's like 12 or 1,600 yards of lace weight, but it's adaptable, so you can like use a percentage of your yarn for the beginning and a percentage for the ending. I don't know if I'll ever make one in lace, but I do have one in worsted weight going, and it's this big triangle that you could wear as a asymmetrical poncho, or you could fold it over and wear it as like a double thick triangle shawl, and it's fun and gorgeous. I've met one of our knitters who has made one, and it's as stunning as the pattern looks on Ravelry. But Viajante. And I know people have like told me, oh, I checked into this
and that's not
this
how you say it.
thread, and this is how you're really supposed to say it, but
I don't care.
Viajante. And then recently, there's one I've always liked but never made because it takes so much yarn, but it's from Knitting in the Sun by actually a local knitter, the Anacapa Shawl. And it made I think it was the cover of that book.
Yeah.
And it's close to our heart.
Yeah.
And it's by Kendra Nitta, Nitta.
That's a great last name.
And her email address is knitta. I'm like, I want to abscond with your identity so that I can have your email address.
Yeah. Oh, that is so pretty.
Somebody told me, this has nothing to do with that. One of our customers was saying, oh, I was trying to email you and I put in katiefraker@gmail.com and I wrote you this long email and I sent it, and then I got an email back saying you have the wrong email address. Because my email is katiebfraker@gmail.com. So apparently there's another Katie Fraker out there. And I remember she told me this before, and I was like, I have to email her.
Yeah.
And like,
Hi, I'm Katie B. Fraker.
Yeah, I would like to. I'm sorry people ask you knitting questions, but who are you? Because apparently we're twins or something.
You should knit.
Yeah.
And then today, while I was hunting for my secret project, I came across something I had favorited in the past and something else that fell into the same like geographical, I should make that. So there's a cowl called the Mirabella Cowl, which is my daughter's name, and it's not a very common name, and it's very pretty. It's by Carrie Bostick Hogue, Hoge.
Oh, I love her stuff.
Yeah, this is very pretty. I really like it. I'm sure I'm going to make it soon. I don't remember the design details. I just remember that it's very pretty and it has my daughter's name.
It's called Mirabella, so sold.
Yep. So that's favorited and tucked away on Ravelry. And then I came across the Carpinteria Shawl, which is a local place by Stephanie Talent, who we've met, and Karen has a good relationship with.
She's local to Southern California.
She's a lovely person. And so, of course, it didn't surprise me. She named something Carpinteria, but it's beautiful. It's like a crescent shawl with this gorgeous, I think it was crescent, that one. Yeah, and it had this really beautiful, like, floral petal motif that works. It's just beautiful. You should look at it. And it's like a big floral thing. It's not like a small lace repeat. It's this beautiful flower that blooms in the fabric. So those are things that have amused me by their name. But there are the yarns I often choose because of their names.
I've definitely done that.
Yeah. There was one that came on the yarn track that was Paging Dr. Sassy Pants or something.
I remember that.
And then I bought this yarn from Blue Moon Fibers from when I was in Portland at Twisted, where they have a huge selection of Blue Moon fibers. It's their Socks That Rock Heavy, and it was called Mr. Krabby Pants, which my middle son was being particularly obnoxious that trip, and so it just like really spoke to me of
I need to buy this.
I had to have it to memorialize the pattern. And I got a pair of socks out of that yarn and a hat. So
wow,
nice.
This last trip to
you didn't
Portland,
make pants?
No pants. No Krabby Pants. 2 on the nose. This last time I also bought more yarn from there based on names. So I'm still really obsessed with our trip last year when we got to see the eclipse. And I got this worsted weight from them that's Total Eclipse of the Sun. And I'm going to use that to make something else from Pom Pom. I'm going to make this cool cowl.
Is that the one with the 2 colors? And like that is so
it's
cool.
Double knit and garter stitch held. So like the moons
that's
are double
so
knit.
Cool.
And the in-between is garter stitch with the 2 together. Absolutely.
This is called
so this episode
Hypatia?
Hypatia, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, Hypatia.
That is so cool.
Okay, so I think I need to get that book.
There's you can get it at Cattywampus, probably Barnes & Noble soon. There's like 4 things I want to make in this.
I want it just to look at the cover because it's so beautiful.
The cover's gorgeous. So I want to make Ixchel. I want to make this cowl Hypatia. I'm going to make Ceridwen.
I love the Pom Pom quarterly books. They're laid out really well.
They feel so nice in your hand.
Yeah,
they're great.
What's the usually there's a recipe in the back. This is a
Dutch
there's knit
baby.
And crochet and a cooking thing. What's a Dutch baby?
It's like a big puffy pancake that puffs and then falls back on itself.
Oh man, with blueberries and apples, that looks so good.
There's 2 other sweaters I want to make in there.
I also just want to read that
for a second. I want to make Luna, which is
brioche.
Beautiful.
Is that 2 color?
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
And Artemis, which
that's
is
really
like
pretty.
This is a sleeper sweater, but I think it would be
gorgeous.
so pretty to wear. It has it's a ton of stockinette, but it has this gorgeous back that's a short row.
Really pretty. It'll show off your back tattoo, like in the picture.
Yeah, my back tattoo. That you're all wondering what that is. It actually isn't. Can't commit to a tattoo.
No back tattoo.
So on the question of patterns,
choosing things by their cool name.
Yeah.
Things. I choose yarn. It's hard to resist yarn, obviously, with a cool name. But I gotta say, I rarely remember the names of the things I'm actually knitting or crocheting on. I am a sucker for a great picture.
Yeah, that can do it too.
Honestly, that hero pic that intrigues me, where they show a really interesting detail, then I want to click on that and find out more. Sometimes I do shop on the Hot Right Now, list on Ravelry, but not just the top 20, but I'll expand it to see, because sometimes you see the same people up there, and it's because they're hot right now because they're popular, and they're popular because they're hot right now. It kind of cycles around, and I think I had one thing on that list once briefly, but I didn't get to see it.
I saw it there. It was Karen's Provence.
No, it wasn't that.
Provence
was on there.
That got to be on there. I never got to see that.
Well, it
was the
when I selected
Charlotte, which it's been down.
About that.
Okay, that thing's been.
Of all the things
I wish I would.
Yeah.
But
you were on
not that
right
it's
now.
not cool, but yeah.
It's just super, super roughly. It was something I made that kind of spirals out like a nautilus, and it's been downloaded every day since I put that free pattern out.
You're like, dang, why didn't I charge $1 for that?
9 years ago. Oh my gosh. I would be like $18,000 richer today. Well, sort of, maybe not, because some people won't pay
because then they wouldn't buy it.
Some people won't pay $1.
Yeah.
Well, good for them. If it's making them use up their ruffle yarn they bought, then.
Oh God.
Remember ruffle yarn?
Even my stuff, it goes on Love Knitting in the UK sometimes. And people are still downloading it in the UK, so I'm not even sure where you can buy this stuff, because I thought that it finally the ruffle yarn faded up. Someone's dying. We tried to unload it at the shop at 70% off, and it still didn't. I think she ended up just giving it away.
Probably.
Yeah.
There was a lot of it.
It
makes a great scarf, but oh man, we worked at the yarn store for so long, and we saw so much of that ruffle yarn come through. And I taught so many people how to make those stupid ruffle scarves. I'm totally over it.
I never made one. Yeah. I thought it might be fun.
I made one as a sample.
Yeah. But...
I might have made one for my grandma.
I did, but I'm just not a ruffly person.
Yeah, no.
I just, on the one hand, it had the appeal of something you can get done in an evening.
Yeah.
It's super fast, but...
It's a cool novelty.
Yeah. There must be something you've chosen on name, though.
There's gotta be. And it doesn't mean that you had to knit it. Like, you could have just, the question was, have you ever favorited something?
Favorited something?
Probably.
I would have had to be directed toward it by the designer.
Yeah.
First. Okay, so.
But if you never pay attention to the name, then.
I did download, even though I didn't start it, Woman Must Make Her Own Arrows.
Ooh, that's cool.
I seen that,
I know the neighbor, and I can't see this. I'm horrible with names. I know the name of the designer. She's besides I almost have it. Dang it. Besides being a knitwear designer, she also is an author, and she has a couple of great novels to read. The kind of, if you like time traveling historians,
you do like her.
I do. Historians from the future coming back to time before, to the Middle Ages. You'll love her. If I could just remember. Oh, I almost had it.
Starts with an L.
An L. Larissa Brown. That's it.
She's the one that designed the Wonder Woman shawl. Maybe it's a different brown.
Different brown. But okay, so Larissa Brown is an amazing designer and author. I guess author is genderless.
Yeah.
But yes, so Woman Must Make Her Own Arrows is really an intriguing type of you can. It's a different shape. It's kind of like the shape of an arrowhead, but you're coming at it from 4 different places, where you make these 2 short arrowheads, and then you join them by picking up stitches to make the longer edges.
That's Larissa Brown?
Larissa Brown.
The Wonder Woman shawl is Carissa Browning.
Oh.
So that's how I got confused.
No,
I bet they get each other's emails all the time.
Well, and what was that one that I did that was really, has beautiful... type of ruffle. Okay, it was a ruffle, but it was a good ruffle.
It's okay to be a ruffle person, even if you're not a ruffle yarn person.
This was the shawl, and I see I'm horrible. I'm gonna have to look this up. So
we'll link to it if
the one that I used, it does like these semicircles.
Oh, vortex something knitting.
I have no idea.
I know.
And you know what? I'll look it up because someone just asked.
I can see the picture
because
of it. It has a great hero picture.
Because Ramona just asked me about what that was, and I responded to her, and now I can't remember what I told her.
Woman Must Make Her Own Arrows brilliant name and really gorgeous thing. So
Yes.
so it does come together sometimes.
Best of both worlds.
That is gorgeous.
And it was a knit along where you had the freedom of changing out colors and putting in. It was mostly garter, but you could add lace if you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of those kind of you could put your own touch of creativity into it and totally make it your own.
I have definitely favorited things based on the name and also knit things based on the name. I went through my Ravelry favorites to see what I could come up with. The first thing I initially thought of was Bad Oyster.
Oh, that was a great name.
Which is a scarf that you knit and there are no
Alex
pearls.
Tinsley.
It's fantastic.
So there's no pearls in your oyster, so it's a bad oyster.
It always gives me a stomach ache when I hear you say the name.
Bad oyster. I also found a pattern that I forgot I had favorited. It's called Kraken Knuckles. And it looks like an octopus and your fingers are the tentacles.
Oh,
like a kraken.
cool.
I just thought that was so funny and I favorited it. I really don't have any intention on making it, but it's really funny, so I favorited it. And I was also thinking about, remember when those Lorna's Laces colorways came out? There was Unicorn Parade.
Yes.
Robot Overlord.
Yes.
Zombie Barbecue.
Yes.
Best
I bought
name.
all of those.
Robot Overlord was gorgeous.
Yep.
And had a great name.
Yep.
Zombie Barbecue is one of the most beautiful
It's
things
so
I've ever
good.
seen. And I love the
Yep.
name.
And Unicorn Parade. I bought all three of them because I was like, these have great names.
Great.
Yeah.
It is great. But
No, Zombie Barbecue's
those
the
other
best.
two are...
Yep. I feel like there was a fourth one, but I can't remember what it was.
I think there was two, but
There was like a series that they came out with all of the...
basically Zombie Barbecue completely stole my love.
Yep.
Forever and
It's
always.
like this...
So I forgot about Robot Overlord. But...
Yep. It's this great color and it looks like zombie flesh and it sounds really gross. It looks like zombie flesh.
It's a soft spring green.
Yep.
And a rich mossy green and a purpley black, which is both gorgeous, and then you think how gross the flesh is at that point.
If you think that hard about it, you'll be grossed out.
Gorgeous red. I think the green and the red overlap to make that gorgeous purple.
And sometimes when it pulls, it can look like it's gross.
Well, I color pooled it.
It looks great.
And I color pooled it so the red is down the center.
Do they still make that yarn? That colorway?
They do, because I feel like I see it every once in a while.
I'm going to Google it right now. It's a great color.
It's so good.
I've made, yes, they do still make it. I've made something out of it. I don't remember. But those are examples of things that I just bought for the name.
Sometimes people play on the zombie thing, and you want to buy it just because, like, I love The Walking Dead. But Zombie Barbecue was such a beautiful marriage of color planning and design and name.
Yeah.
So
it's a great
perfect.
color.
And it was like the leading edge of Walking Dead was getting hot, and that yarn appeared. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah.
A lot of times I find that I will actually I'll pick something not so much by the name of it, but by recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like you knit that cowl based on the Immortalists, right?
I have knit it. Yeah, I'm working on it. Yeah.
Did you actually read the Immortalists?
No, I haven't read it yet.
I did though. I read that.
Was it good?
It was really good.
Yeah, I have the book. Really I need to.
There's quite a lot of book patterns that are inspired by literature or pop culture. Like you sent me that link to Hamilknits, the Hamilknit tat, which is I guess it had been out for a little bit, but it is so cute. It has all
I could see you making that in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah, it's a hat, but it's all these quotes from Hamilton, which I am a huge fan of Hamilton. I've got to see it 3 times, and I have been singing. I still sing all the songs. I have them memorized, and I've been doing that for like 2 years now, and I don't stop singing it because it's still one of my favorite things. But there's quite a few things. Okay, I did see Eeyore mouse ears.
I saw that on Unraveled. It was very cute.
Yes, they're
it's
Mickey
like the
ears,
Mickey ears you wear to Disneyland, but it's Eeyore.
But they're Eeyore, which is like one of my favorite characters.
Oh, they're so cute.
Yeah, I saw that just today.
I love Eeyore too.
I guess I'll just go over here.
Mm-hmm. He's a realist.
Nobody cares.
He owns his truth.
It's raining.
I think Eeyore might be my husband.
Well, I think that'll be an interesting conversation later.
He's gonna be like, you said what about me on the podcast?
No,
He would embrace it.
You're leaving him for Eeyore. That's what I got.
Oh yeah. No.
Maybe not so much.
I think that's it for this month. If you guys have a question for us for our next customer or listener question segment, please drop us a line. Let us know. I will link to all these things that we talked about, or I'll try and remember to link all of them in the show notes. You can listen to our podcast on iTunes, Google Podcasts, SoundCloud, YouTube, and directly through our website. And I think that's it.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.